Welcome to the film room for round 2 highlights of the Euroleague playoffs. Real Madrid picked up right where they left off after game 1. Everything seems to be going their way. Midway through the first quarter, they were about to get a shot clock violation, and Hazonia threw up a prayer from the Turkish Airlines logo and buries it. They say it's better to be lucky than good. Well, I think Real Madrid is both right now. And part of the reason they're playing so well is because they're getting it done on offense and defense. They're continuing to create these live ball steals, which are turning into easy transition buckets. And one of the best defensive highlights of the game was when Miller-McIntyre went for this one-hand dunk and Poirier met him at the rim for one of his 4 blocks. And when talking about being lucky and good, look no further than Campazzo. The way he drove left-handed and threw this up with his inside right hand, I mean, look at his own reaction to that shot. They're playing so well right now. So let's break down this offensive possession. As they go into this ball screen, Campazzo knows he's going to get 2 to the ball, and that's going to leave Tavares open. So on the flight of the ball, that's going to force this defender to come up and help. Yabaso recognizes his defender leave. He cuts to the basket and gets this dunk. The chemistry that these guys are playing with offensively is unmatched. Watch as Campazzo comes off of this cleared side ball screen and ends up hitting Tavares on this open dunk. And when you watch the replay back, you'll see that Campazzo didn't even look when he threw this pass. He just knew it was going to be open. And that's part of the reason their offense is so lethal right now, is because they're scoring inside and outside. Their guards are having the ability to find these bigs on pick and roll, and their scoring is so balanced. And credit to Baskonia, they have continued to fight and battle and made some nice highlights of their own, but at the end of the day, Real Madrid is just a little bit too much for them right now. I would expect to see a 3-0 sweep in this series, and then Real Madrid's going to have an opportunity to get rest up and prepare for the Final Four. Moving over to the series of Panathinaikos versus Maccabi, Maccabi was trying to get a 2-0 sweep on the road, and this game was loaded with highlights from the opening tip. In game 1, there were some great performances from the front court, but it was the guards who stepped up in game 2. Lorenzo Brown was making plays for his teammates, and he also finished with a series-high 18 points. But the MVP of this game went to none other than Kostas Sloukas, who had an unbelievable performance. The game was back and forth the entire first half, and it was only a 1 or 2 possession game for most of it, and Tommy Blatt had a great half as well. But after Kostas saw one go in, it was like he caught fire and he was hunting the ball every possession down, and he just kept hitting. And not only did he have the home crowd in a frenzy, but his teammates knew he was hot and they just kept finding him. So as the game started to get out of hand in the third quarter, it was Blatt who stepped up and started hitting shots to try and get his team back into this game. These 2 threes that he hit late in the third quarter gave them some momentum going into the fourth, and then they opened up the fourth quarter with this lob play that cut it within 10. It started with this double drag, and the purpose of that screen is to get this man to step up and help. They cleared Coulson out so that there was nobody in the paint, and then they came off and executed it perfectly with this pass. It looked like this could have given them the boost that they needed, but it just wasn't enough. Lasort had this big-time put-back dunk, and as soon as Maccabi felt like they were within striking distance, Sloukas made this great pass for a corner catch-and-shoot 3, and that put them back up by double digits, and then with 2 minutes remaining, he put an exclamation point on his phenomenal performance and finished the game. The home crowd was phenomenal this game, their energy was insane, but in the last few seconds of the game, Antetokounmpo went up and blocked Cleveland, and they got into a little bit of an altercation, so I could see there being some drama come game 3. Now with the 4-5 matchup of Barcelona and Olympiacos, Barcelona came out and got beat at home in game 1, and they talked about their energy after the game and how it wasn't there. Well, you could tell that they had a different mentality coming into game 2, and Jabari Parker was the guy who really showed up for them. He established himself early in the first quarter. He was hitting shots from the perimeter. He was scoring it from the inside and getting fouled. He just had a different mentality going into this game as far as his aggressiveness, and it made a world of difference for this team. So I'm assuming something was said in the locker room or while they were game prepping, because he only took 10 shots from the field in game 1 and he took 16 shots from the field in game 2. But Olympiacos had its fair share of highlights, one of them being this monster dunk by Shaq McKissick over 2 people off this sideline out of bounds play. The ball movement was great from both teams, and it looked like they both had a game plan that was intentional about attacking the paint and trying to score at the rim. Now, if you saw game 1, you would have known that Nigel Williams-Goss was the guy for Olympiacos, and it took him until the second half to really get going, but midway through the third quarter, he started to hit a few shots, and it looked like he was going to try and take over this game. And then midway through the fourth quarter, when Olympiacos was down by 7, they ran this really nice baseline out of bounds play where they set a decoy screen and lifted both of their bigs outside of the paint because they knew that Alec Peters was being overplayed by his defender. This got all of the defenders out of help position and they backdoored him. But with 3 minutes left in the game, Barcelona really needed a stop to stretch out this lead and to finish the game, and they got a great timely steal and a run out for a dunk, and this pretty much sealed it. So now the series is tied 1-1 and they're headed back to Greece for game 3. Now the final series is Monaco versus Fenerbahce, and Monaco lost in overtime in a heartbreaker at home, and so they were locked in for game 2, and Mike James came out with something to prove and started to be aggressive early. This game was chock full of offensive highlights from start to finish. Nick Kalathis came off this ball screen and threw a great hook pass that turned into an and one three-pointer. And then late in the first quarter, Diallo gets out in transition, catches his defender sleeping, and drives baseline for this easy dunk. And then right before the end of the first quarter, Scotty Wilbekin got this switch on the ball screen and hit one of his 6 threes of the night. And then early in the second quarter, you see the same thing we saw in the Real Madrid game. There's going to be 2 on the ball in this ball screen. They're going to get it out to the big, which is going to force this help man to step up. And Sestina is in the dunker, ready for this ball to come to him, and he gets an and one. So from both teams, it was great execution offensively and some really nice actions. Here as Kalathis comes down off this drag ball screen, he sees that there's no tag and throws it up to the big fella for a dunk. And then on the other end, Akobo picks up right where he left off in game 1. He gets this isolation situation low in the clock and hits a nice step back 3. But after that, it was Scotty time. He comes down with 40 seconds left and pulls up in transition for 3 and nails it. And then 2 possessions later, he's got the ball at the end of the first half, and from about 28 feet, he goes into this sidestep and buries another one. In the second half, Monaco maintained the lead for the majority of it, but there were 2 finishes in particular through a lot of contact that were made by Fenerbahce, and this one by Hayes Davis put them up by 4 late in the third quarter. But Monaco recaptured the lead, and with about 30 seconds left, Scotty came down to try and get this thing close again by hitting an unbelievably deep 3 to put him within 2. It looked like there was a good chance that Fenerbahce was going to go back home with a 2-game lead in the series. But on the ensuing possession with the game on the line, this is what Jordan Lloyd had to say about it.
The game decider, a basket here surely ends it. And he does! Jordan Lloyd from deep, already thinking about game 3, but that basket there, Jordan Lloyd.
Hey, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the recaps on the playoffs, and I'd love to hear who you think is going to make it to the Final Four, so let me know in the comments. Thanks for coming through. We'll see you next time in the film room.